We are rolling, sir.
Are we?
Yes,
Right
sir.
now?
Right now.
Okay, so how old were you when 9/11 happened?
I was 4 days before my 12th birthday, so I was
Okay.
11.
You didn't happen to be watching TV at the time, did you?
I was, but I was watching Rocket Power.
So were my kids.
Yeah, they showed Rocket Power. I could always catch about 15 minutes of it before I had to run out
They
to
were
walk to
breaking
school.
the Nickelodeon with
Yes, yeah. So I heard my mom and my dad. They were watching TV in their room, and I heard them kind of starting to yell a little bit. So I ran in there.
Were they? Do you remember were you particularly shocked or freaked out?
I think I wasn't. I don't think I really understood it much at the time. I could see the images on the screen and just the dust and the smoke and in that moment, no one really knew what the heck was happening.
Right.
And I remember my mom actually just made me go to school really quickly. Said, grab your skateboard and go. So I went to school and then go to school and half the kids weren't there and I didn't really get it. And it took a little while to kind of understand what was happening.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion about that in particular, whether you should send your kids or just stay at home and keep them, in a pile or.
Yeah, I remember at the time thinking like, I'm a middle school in Lakewood, California. Like nothing's gonna happen here.
Right. Where did you go to middle school?
Hoover, Herbert Hoover.
Okay. Did you go to Lakewood High?
I did not actually. I went to Wilson.
Okay, so did I.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, what made you decide to join the service?
So I joined the Army when I was 26. I tend to call it my quarter life crisis. I had been bartending, waitressing, barroom managing for most of my adult life. I started working when I was 14 as a as a kind of like a backup kitchen hand, and I started waitressing and all that. And I was just like, I have nowhere to go with my life. So it was always something I wanted to do. When I turned 18, my dad actually would unplug the phone line so I wouldn't get the recruiters calling me because he didn't want me to talk to them. So it was on the back of my mind just to, if I don't do it now, when would I? And I'd always kind of wonder if it was something that would have been good for me. So I just took the plunge.
And your dad was very much against it, I guess.
He was surprised. He was definitely surprised. Yeah, that's for sure. At that point, it wasn't something he could necessarily get upset about, but.
Right. So you went into the service just to kind of test yourself? Or there wasn't any sense of revenge or anti-terrorism, or was that part of it?
No, not at that point. No, we'd been so far removed by the time I joined that it wasn't necessarily like a guiding point as to why I joined. I was kind of looking to just turn my life around and hopefully find something good for myself.
And did you?
I did. Okay. Yeah. The job I ended up going for in the Army, it's become my definite passion. I'm going to school for it, and I'm working in it now, and trying to move forward with it.
And what is that?
Intelligence analyst. Yeah, so I got to handle the intel and kind of deal with the enemy and know what the enemy was up to.
And where did you deploy to?
Afghanistan.
When?
From July 2019 until March of 2020.
Did you have any difficulty being a woman in the armed forces? In the Army, rather?
Yes and no. There's definitely those attitudes are still there. I always kind of joke saying I went into the intel community, so we're a bunch of nerds.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really get a lot of the aggressive male, attitudes there. But you do tend to get a little bit when it comes to leadership roles. You don't always get to get placed in those leadership roles over another male. What am I trying to say? Advancement opportunities, things like that. For promotions, tend to go to the guys before they come to the girls. But I just tried to work my hardest to.
You didn't have problems with harassment or assault, or?
Personally, no. I did have a lot of friends though that went through it. I've got some friends back in North Carolina, kind of working on programs and things to help revamp, at least at Fort Bragg, ways to try to change that.
Are you involved in that at all?
I'm not, no, it's just for active duty, but my friend definitely keeps me updated. It's a really cool system that they're working with. They're trying to just really change the way things get reported and more so change the way education happens. Right now with harassment and stuff like that, the education is really just watch this PowerPoint slide and then talk about it while people kind of just laugh in the background making fun of it. So they're trying to do something a little more practical to get people engaged.
So you did your training at Fort Bragg?
Yes, that was where I was stationed.
Okay. What was it like going to Afghanistan? Getting off the plane in Afghanistan?
It was interesting. I got there in the middle of the day, so it was in the middle of the day in July. It was just past, I think it was July 6th. So I'd spent July 4th in Kuwait, and then got to Afghanistan, and it was just a kind of a whole other world. It really is. It's when you look at the terrain, it actually looks a lot like our deserts out here in California with the mountains and the dirt and everything, but very, very hot. Very, very hot.
Yeah, like what kind of hot?
Over hundreds the whole time. No humidity, thankfully, but where I was at, it was up high in elevation as well, nearly a mile. So you were dealing a little bit with that kind of thin air and just dirt in the air all the time. So when they were making you do PT outside, that was rough.
What were you? So you didn't feel like you really were over there on a mission of any particular?
When I went, it was an interesting time. So we went in knowing that we were kind of starting to draw down a bit, and then the peace talks started in Doha, and I was there for the majority of the time for the peace talks. Actually, they were settled, so they call it, while I was there, and so of course our commanders were like, "Oh, we did this," and we don't have anything to do with that, but it was a weird time because no one quite knew what was supposed to happen. We still had patrols going out daily. We still were talking, training some of the Afghan soldiers and going out into the communities and things, but no one really knew what was supposed to be happening in the grander scheme of things. We knew the Taliban weren't supposed to be attacking us. Didn't stop us from losing 4 guys. More than that, but 4 that were part of my unit. Yeah, we had a mission. It was just kind of an influx, I guess.
So you didn't feel encouraged by the peace talks at all? Is it more of a cynicism type thing?
Yeah, the peace talks, I mean, at the time we thought maybe, this might be something good, but in general, the way we went about it wasn't great. We were only talking with the Taliban. We weren't including the Afghan government. So us, for our mission there being to support the government of Afghanistan, you got to see a little bit of like a lethargy from the policemen that we were helping with, or the local governments were kind of discouraged because they're like, well, we don't have a say in this, and it's almost like they don't exist. So on that note, and this might just be my personal thoughts on it, but they were kind of just doomed from the start. There's no way it could have worked out.
Do you have any political bent one way or the other?
I try to keep myself as neutral as possible.
These were the Trump peace talks, right?
Yes. Yeah. I try to. I mean, I definitely do bend a little more. I'm from Long Beach, so I think that probably says enough. So I would say, identify very strongly with the general vibe of Long Beach when it comes to politics.
Okay.
But I do try to keep an open mind. That being said, I try to look at things from all sides and make sure I'm understanding why the other side is maybe doing the things that they do, even if I don't like it, or stuff like that. So I do try to keep it, and part of that is part of my training as an analyst. Like you got to be very clear on what you're doing and not necessarily sway someone.
Did you go out and patrol?
No, I did not. I made some pretty strong promises before I left to some people that I loved that I wouldn't. There was a couple opportunities. Generally, my job doesn't go out very often. There was a couple opportunities. They were looking for female engagements teams, but they never really came to anything. And When it came to my actual combat ability, I figured I'd be a little bit more of a hindrance than a help. I work with my brain and my keyboard.
Did you have friends that went out?
Yes.
Okay. What was your unit?
I was with the 82nd Airborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
You flipped out of a plane or two?
Yeah, 17 of them to be precise. I was with the 3rd Brigade, 1505th.
Did you see any combat?
Personally, I didn't like get into any firefights, but we did take a lot of artillery and rockets onto the base.
Was it scary at all?
It was. You kind of got used to it. We had a pretty good system to shoot down. Have you seen like the Iron Dome that Israel has?
Yeah.
It's not that we didn't have anything that sophisticated, right. But we had a system similar to that that would kind of track the trajectory and shoot it out. Quite a few of them did make it through, though. They learn our tactics and they change them up. We did have a couple land within our like sleeping areas and stuff, and we got really lucky that just no one was over there at the time. And then a couple of our IED strikes were pretty close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the most part, you felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, on a day-to-day.
Pretty safe, I should say.
Yeah, I would say where we were at, it was pretty safe. A lot of times we kind of just looked at it as we'd been there for so long that I was at Kandahar Airfield, and that was one that's been there for one of the longest.
Pretty built up by now.
Yeah, so it's almost a little city unto itself. I mean, it's still pretty small for where you can go around and not like much going on, but it had existed for so long that it wasn't like one of the smaller fobs that were up in the mountains or anything that was getting kind of they would get like attacks. That's a little bit strong of a word, but they'd kind of come through and kind of fire a few shots just to test out to see what would happen and things, and that didn't really happen in Kandahar.
Did you know any women who got killed over there?
No, it was just guys, just males. I did have a couple girls that would, some infantry women that were in my unit. They would go out and they would be on the convoy and things when they would get attacks. But yeah, luckily they all made it.
You talked about the 4 people. Did you know those people who got killed?
I did. 2 were from my infantry unit. The other 2 were from my prior unit. I was with an engineer battalion. One of them I knew pretty well, and the other one was kind of a newer guy that they were just starting to kind of get out there and show around.
It must have been kind of shocking for you, though, being basically not involved in that kind of thing, to lose people over there.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I was the honor guard for the ramp ceremony. So when anyone died in country, they would come through, and we'd do the big ceremony, where they carry the casket and they have everyone, salute and stand around and have the flags. I was the honor guard NCO, so I was the person behind the people with the flags, calling out the commands and everything for marching and stuff. And so every death in country, I definitely had a part of. I think I did 6 different ceremonies. A couple of them had multiple people. You'd lose like SF guys, Special Forces guys or something, and they'd all come through and we'd do the honor for them.
Pretty sobering experience.
It was, yeah. Yeah, the ones for our guys was definitely pretty rough.
Do you have any lasting effects from having been over there? PTSD or just nightmares or bad memories?
Yeah, if you talk to my sister, she thinks I do. I do. I did develop some pretty bad migraines while out there. I still kind of suffer from, and I definitely would say I wouldn't call it PTSD, but kind of maybe just a little bit of a heightened anxiety. Just with that most recent attack in Kabul, just hearing that people had died kind of threw me for a loop for a couple days, especially until we could find out who it was or what unit it was that had gotten hurt. Because I knew parts of the 82nd were out there, and so I was just kind of worried. I mean, any death is awful, but it's worse when you read a name you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was your rank?
I was a sergeant.
Hmm?
I think there was two ladies that died out of that.
There was, yeah. Out of the Marines.
Yeah. That's hard to see.
Just, yeah. The two guys that I was more familiar with that from my unit that died was, that was in January, and we starting to pack up in February. So that alone sucked, just knowing how close to the end they were. So same thing for those 12 Marines and sailors, and the one Army guy. Just, man.
Right. There's the airplane. The other two guys we talked to had a lot to say about suicide. I think they both kind of were sort of considering it, or they had that weight. That anything like that for you?
Not for me, but in my unit, in the 3rd Brigade, after getting back, I think our number's at somewhere between 15 and 20 people who've killed themselves since coming back.
Did you know any of them?
No, I didn't know any of them personally. My own soldier did try. Luckily, we got to him in time. That was while we were still out there, though.
And who was that?
One of my soldiers. So someone that was under me.
And while you guys were in Afghanistan?
Yeah. Maybe don't put that one out there just for his own. That's his.
As long as you don't say his name.
Yeah.
So what do you do now?
So now I work with Boeing in their kind of like program security. The boring side of my intel job is it's like physical security, making sure things that are classified, stay locked up, and things like that. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We don't tell anybody.
Yeah. So I do that for one of their government programs. But just finished my bachelor's degree in intelligence studies, and I'm working on my applications for grad school for intelligence as well.
Where did you get your degree?
American Military University.
Oh.
It's an online school that they work really well with your schedule, and I started it while I was still active.
And grad school?
Grad school, I'm applying to Georgetown and Johns Hopkins.
Wow.
So, hopefully.
Yeah. You live in Long Beach now?
I do.
Okay. You have any family?
Yeah, my dad and my sister are still out here. My dad lives over in Lakewood still, and then my sister lives off of 4th Street.
Metro Road?
4th and Obispo, so adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, heading over there after this to go walk to get some dinner.
Are you married?
Divorced.
Okay.
So, family's important to you.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it's been nice being able to come home after being gone for those 5 years and having to, stay with my dad sometimes it's nice.
And they support you.
Yeah.
But your dad was happy to have you back.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was stoked.
Looked at your Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
You like line dancing.
I
Beer.
used to line dance a lot. Yeah, I've gotten past that for now. But yeah, beer. I actually so my dad he owns bars around Long Beach, and so I grew up in the bar and beer industry. But the first brewery I worked for was for Beechwood Brewing down here. I was part of their opening crew, and I was there for a long time. So they kind of got me into the brewery scene, and definitely big fan of beer.
Are you going to? Do you brew?
I haven't. No, it's always been kind of like a space and money thing. Not really having enough of either to start it.
Couple mayonnaise jars.
Yeah, so I'd like to one day.
What bars does he own?
So Thirsty Isle
Okay.
has been the one he's owned since I was.
That was where I had my first legal drink.
Nice.
I was going to City College and struck 12. We walked down the street.
Heck
There was a
yeah.
newspaper there, so we were always there till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of majored in not going to school.
Well, City College, right?
I know.
You went at midnight?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's what I did for my 21st too. I was there.
Wow.
Yeah,
You guys are-
shooting pool until it was 12:01, and then you get your beer.
Well, we did a story about him then, right? When he was selling his stuff.
Yeah, this will actually be, like, oddly enough, my second time in the Post in a year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, because you were involved in that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Crystal did that stuff.
Crystal, yeah, she was really sweet.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And what else? I've been to all of the bars.
Yeah. So we used to own Curly's. That's where I did all my waitressing in Signal Hill.
Yeah.
Then we had Brian O'Connor's. It's an Irish pub in Lakewood. And then the Annex over by the Circle. Yeah. Yes, we don't have Curly's anymore. We just sold Brian O'Connor's. And he still has like a partner in the Annex.
Annex is just beer, right?
Just beer, yep.
Are they all just beer?
Curly's and Brian O'Connor's had liquor,
Okay.
but now it's just, yeah, beer and wine.
Would you recommend people joining the service now, in general?
I would, to a degree. I mean, I had a pretty decent experience in the sense of was able to choose the job that I wanted and didn't have to necessarily just take a job that was given to me. So I think it is good for people. Also, I mean, the benefits on the back end, I never would have gone back to school if it wasn't for the Army. It would have been way too expensive, and I wouldn't have had a purpose. So luckily, that's given me that. I would just say people should be aware of what they're joining and join with a purpose. Have a reason. Obviously, we need infantrymen, we need stuff like that. But if you can do something different that can give you a skill, that's definitely the way to go.
You must have done pretty well on the test, huh? To be able to choose.
I did, yeah. I scored fairly high.
One of the guys we talked to was infantry, and he said, I screwed the test up. He said, but I want to be in infantry anyhow, so he didn't care about his test, but
Yeah.
Tom, am I forgetting anything?
No, I think you're right. Give me your name, the time you were in the military, what years, your rank. You were in the Army as well?
Mm-hmm, Army.
And then that, just go ahead.
Oh, do all that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Felicia Wieser, 32 years old next week. I was in the Army from May of 2016 until November of 2020. Deployed from July of 2019 to March of 2020. I was a sergeant, E5, in the 82nd Airborne, the Panther Brigade, 3rd Brigade, 1505th. Call it 1P.
Nice.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
No, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah.
So you just got out for the most part, right?
Yeah, pretty recently. Coming up on a year.
Oh.
Wow.
What did you think of how we exited Afghanistan?
I think,
Obviously, you could have done better. We could have
yeah.
not had 13 days.
I mean, basically,
It's-
it could have been you there, right? I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah. I had friends back in 3rd Brigade they got the call to get ready, and I was just kind of waiting for it, like, oh gosh, But I think there was no, you can say you have a plan all you want. No one knows how to deal with the kind of situation like that, especially when you get on the ground. But no, definitely, I think all of our special immigrant visas, the people that had helped us out for years that had been trying to get over here, that we just ignored, is what it seems like, and I'm sure that's how they felt for so many years. Some stuff like that should have been taken care of so much longer. A lot of those people could have been gone years ago and back over here, and that would have created less of a drama. I don't think we needed to wait until September 11th to try to pull out by. But that being said, there's no changing it, right? The Taliban was just waiting for us to leave, to go back and do what they did. The Afghan, the government and the army and everything, it's more, there's not so much of a sense of I'm an Afghan, like there is here, I'm an American. It's more about your tribe and your locality. So people you see a lot of people talking a lot of mean things about the military and things, but it's just a different way of a sense of self, So when it comes down to it, you're like, well, I'm not going to die for Afghanistan. I'd rather go home. I'd rather leave here and protect my village, my family, my tribe. But and if I have to die protecting them. So just in general, it's a lot of factors, a lot of cultural things people didn't take into account. Personally, I think the biggest problem is just the situation for the women. You know, it's I've been reading countless stories about, you know, women who have been in law or in government over there, and now they're just terrified because just for the fact that they were able to do that, such an accomplishment for themselves that now they have to worry about being killed for. But I think the fact that we were there for so long did help to foster an environment in the sense of like right now there's protests, like there's women marching in Kabul and in other places, and that never would have happened before. And the fact that these women had
It's dangerous to protest over there.
Oh yeah, and it still is, but they're doing it because they were able to grow up in an environment that at least allowed them, you know, a little bit of a taste of some freedom, you know. And I think that's what we did. At least that was something that we accomplished. That's like a positive to a negative, I guess. Like, but unfortunately, it remains to be seen if they're gonna be able to keep that. But
did you make any friends over there with the locals? Did you have a translator or anything like that?
Yeah, there was a couple people that I worked with. They were really, really sweet women. They were mostly translators. I didn't obviously really talk with the men much, but I got to know some of the Afghan translators, the women that I would work with. Really, really sweet. Just really opening people. Taught me how to make tea correctly. Try and things like that. You know, things they would give you little gifts, and I'd try to find things to give back to them, and things like that. And even working with our other NATO partners was really eye-opening. You know, got to work with people who had been deploying to Afghanistan, deploying to Kandahar themselves for like the last 20 years on their own. Wow. So really getting a good like wealth of knowledge from that was our Romanian partners.
Did the people that you know get left behind? Do you know whatever happened to them?
I want to say the ones that I worked with had clearances, like security clearances. So they definitely had a little bit of a foot out the door. So I would like to say that they got out. I don't know for sure though.
You don't have any way of getting in touch with them?
No, I never really did the Facebook thing with people. It was kind of just given like the position that we had. It was kind of frowned upon, so.
Okay.
So what's next for you besides college?
Yeah, so grad school on the East Coast, and hopefully I'm planning on moving out to DC to try to get back into kind of like the intelligence community again. What I'm doing with Boeing it's fun, it's different, but for me I like helping the warfighter. I like helping, like I want my work, my intel to go towards like protecting things and protecting people and making sure that we don't ignore intelligence, like what led to 9/11 and what led to the Kabul attack.
In future attacks, who knows? Yeah.
Exactly.
So a lot of anti-terrorism related stuff?
Most definitely,
Good,
yeah.
Good. Well, if you ever want to confide any secrets, you have my number.
Says the reporter.